SN Internet Radio. A winter storm warning is in effect until 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning. We can expect heavy snow and wind gusts as high as 45 miles per hour and possibly 10 to 16 inches of snow. Of course, this means travel will be difficult or impossible. The hazardous conditions could impact the morning commute and will impact the evening commute as well, as gusty winds could bring down tree branches. Tonight, we can expect more of the same, as the winds will also continue to be 40 plus mile an hour gusts. The wind chill will make it feel like it's between 15 and 20. And like I said, when it's all said and done, 10 to 16 inches in eastern Connecticut. Tuesday, rain and snow is likely, becoming all snow in the morning. Mostly cloudy, temps around 33, and a 50% chance of light snow Tuesday night. Cloudy with temperatures around 26.
Your internet home for big 80s hair and big 80s hits. Online and on your smartphone.
It's just that they always have good music.
Streaming news and sports network.
That's what I grew up on.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is Monday morning, 8:33 here in the borough of Jewett City. Now, if you got up this morning and saw a little bit of snow out there and a little bit of flurries, and it's just kind of fluffing around a little bit and very light snow, and thinking that it's over, you're wrong. It's just starting. I don't know where the snow squall came from, but it's just starting out, and we're still looking at a whole boatload of snow. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more later on this morning, and when we bring on Josh from channel 30 or NBC 30. So. This morning, we're going to talk to Todd Babbitt. I think he's on the phone with us right now. Good morning. Who's on the phone with us on SNSN? Hello. Good morning. Who's on the line with us?
Todd, Mike.
Hey, Todd. Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you staying warm?
Trying to. This isn't as bad as it was.
I've got my big heated blanket on me in the studio. But if you were watching on Facebook, you knew that was a complete lie. I'm standing here really just freezing. It's cold in here. So I hope you're warm where you're at. So
I'm in the office. It's warm.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yep.
So good morning. How have you been?
Good. Busy.
Yeah. Griswold, no matter what anybody thinks, is still in business. Everybody's rocking and rolling, but things are just kind of quiet, are they not? As far as what gets said and what's not said right now?
The businesses?
No, the business of the town, I should say.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot going on, I guess. Just COVID is the big thing. And that's taken up most of the time right now.
So at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, I was reading that in discussion with Uncas Health that there were 6 new cases. That was last week. And that was over over a 2-week period. Did I read that correctly?
No, it went down by 6 cases over a 2-week period.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's a good thing.
It is. We had been trending. We were going up 14 to 18 cases every 2 weeks, above the prior week. So that was a pretty good rate that we were climbing, and then we kind of leveled off, and now we're declining a little bit. The concern now, I think, talking with the health district, is the new variants and their high contagious or transmission level. And if we're going to see another spike at some point.
Now, is that just because of the cold weather and the cold and flu season, or?
Well, I think those spikes we saw were from the holidays. We saw Christmas, and then we saw New Year's. So when you look back 2 weeks, last Thursday's report was the week after it included the week after New Year's. So I think it was people that traveled, tested before and after, and just people that didn't generally feel well and tested.
So one of the things that I'm glad you cleared that up, though. As far as like the cases went down by 6 instead of there were just 6 new cases.
Right.
One of the things that was said in the minutes was that Uncas Health expects it to kind of level off a little bit. What do they mean by leveling off?
Well, I think they're trending, or they're watching to see what they expect is that the cases will kind of stay where they are. So I think we were at 159 for the last 2-week period. So they would expect that it would stay around 159 for the next 2-week period, and probably one more at least. So that's 159 cases in the last 2 weeks.
Now, are those new cases or active cases?
New cases.
How many has Griswold seen altogether, roughly?
I want to say we're up to 980, something like that. It's pretty high.
And from what I understand, we've suffered 8 deaths so far in the town of Griswold due to COVID-19. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's what I have. So our focus now is to try to get vaccination of those 75 and over, primarily in our senior housing complexes, which can be quite a challenge. That a lot of that generation is not computer friendly. So it takes a lot. We have a lot of people that are reaching out to my office, concerned because there's been some cases in some of those facilities, and family members of other residents are calling here, other residents are calling here from those facilities, concerned and a little bit scared on what's going on. If we back up to the Christmas time frame, I went to each of the elderly housings to have a conversation with them because we started to have positive cases, and tried to talk to them on the importance of wearing a mask, the difference between isolation and quarantine, and unfortunately the participation at that meeting was very small. In one case, one of the housings, we had probably 40% of the residents. The next one we had about 10%, and the last one we had about 1% that showed up. So there's a big concern, but they weren't interested in hearing, what they should be doing and how they can try to be a little safer, which is concerning. But with that said, we've moved ahead, and the senior center has been working with those people in elderly housing and anybody else that's been 75 or over to help them get registered for the vaccination, and they've been pretty successful. I think they were up to almost 80 people that they've managed to register and get appointments. I just got some numbers last week, which says a total of 711 people have been given their first dose, which is only about 6% of the town. 137 of those were 75 and over. So our senior, or our 75 and over population is only estimated at 570. So we're about 25% through that age group.
Now, at this point, I mean, how far along did you want to be? Did you want to be at least half by now, or is there just a little bit of apathy, thinking, what the heck are we going to do? And just, I mean, what do you think it is?
I think there's a lot of issues that you got to really look at, and that's what we've looked at. Is we tried to get something set up where we could get someone to come into the facilities and vaccinate there. And because they had some positives, they said that wasn't the best situation for their staff to come into a situation where you had positive patients. So we got a little bit of, pushback, I guess, on that. The biggest problem we have is most of those people don't drive, so it's a transportation issue. We have the seat bus, And luckily we have the pharmacy across from the town hall, and they're doing vaccinations. So it's on the bus route. You know, Uncas Health is offering them at the Norwich Senior Center, but you know, that means they got to get on a bus here. They got to switch buses at Walmart. They got to get down into Norwich. And that's a long trek for these people, you know?
Now, aren't they trying to get other ways of transportation to get the seniors down there to Norwich?
Yeah, we're working on that. But I think right now what we're seeing for the request, we're able to facilitate it right here in town with the pharmacy. And I know UCFS is also going to start, or they've already started doing the vaccinations. The pharmacy is supposed to be getting 80 a week, 80 vaccinations. UCFS is getting 200, and they're allotting 100 of those to Norwich office, 50 to here, and 50 to Plainfield. So, you know, we're going to try to make use of the UCFS facility also whenever we can for the 75 and over.
That's not enough.
No, it's not. But unfortunately, you know, the announcement from the state level was they've set up enough locations with mass vaccination that they can't keep them busy enough with the vaccine we're getting at the current time. So they don't have an interest in opening up many more of the mass vaccinations. You know, there is the Dodge Stadium, and there's also one at the Bacchus Hospital. And, you know, people have been going to those because it's not too far if they drive. They're scheduling. Problem is they're out to March, April already. You know, so it's the time frame. It just, you know, people are getting worried that they're going to have to wait till March or April, and you know what happens in the meantime.
Isn't there also been a reported issue, or maybe not so much an issue, but a shortage of the second dose?
Yeah, I've seen some correspondence come back and forth through some different groups that said some of the people that got the first dose, there could be a question whether they're going to have to wait another week or two to get the second dose. And I think there was some research being done on that at the federal level, you know, on what that could result in. I think what I saw, if it was another 2 or 3 weeks, it wasn't that bad. But if you go beyond 3 weeks, you know, it could be worse effects of not getting the vaccinations close enough together.
So what would happen in that case? Would somebody have to start all over again? Or it seems like they just can't manufacture the vaccine fast enough for what they're trying to get it out to.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you hear stories in other states where they're not able to use it all, and you know, they're throwing it away. I can tell you, you know, at the pharmacy here in town, they've had a couple of cancellations, and they reach out to the senior center and say, listen, you know, people canceled or they didn't show up. We have 2 vaccinations. If you can get somebody here by 5 o'clock, we'll give it to them so we don't have to throw it away. So they've been doing that, you know, to try to utilize every dose they have. Unfortunately, it only gives you a 2 or 3 hour window, but so far it's been working.
So I don't understand throwing it away. I mean, so they get it at a certain time and it's only good for a short period of time before you have to toss it away?
Yeah, I believe it's, from what I heard, and I'm not an expert on the vaccine itself, but I think I heard it was 6 hours once it's taken out and started to be distributed into the vaccinations themselves or the injections. Mm-hmm. It's a 6 hour window. And if you haven't used it, then it gets thrown.
Man, I wonder how many they're actually. You would think, though, with all the people that wanted to go ahead and get the vaccination and move forward, that they would be lining up all over the place.
Well, everything's by appointment. So, you know, I know Uncas Health was doing the same thing. If they have a couple left, they were calling around trying to find somebody that was 75 and over to come in and make use of 1 or 2 that they had left. So I think it sounds like locally, at least, they're trying to do the best they can to, you know, use every dose and not waste any. I just think that it's the supply. You know, if we had more supply, I think we could move ahead a little quicker.
Has there been any issues or any problems that maybe you have heard of, or maybe in in neighboring towns where people that say aren't ready, say they're not on the list yet to get the vaccine, or they don't have an appointment, but they're trying to get in and trying to get the vaccine kind of maybe like underhandedly.
Yeah, we had some reports of some residents going to Hartford to the drive-through and getting vaccinated, and they weren't in the right category. But you got to understand, when they put these categories together, 1A was pretty cut and dry. First responders, medical workers, that was pretty clear. When they went to 1B, they started out with frontline essential workers, which they listed solid waste workers, so that would have applied to public works because we run the transfer station. It addressed town clerks, tax collectors, inspectors. So they had all that in 1B, along with 75 and over, 65 to 74. So we were told to register our people. 3 times in a week, I sat in on 3 separate meetings. One with the Department of Health, one with the governor's office, and one with EDC. And all 3 of them gave different information. One of them would tell us, "Yep, put your municipal staff in, and they won't get called up until their category comes up." Then we were told, "Don't put your staff in." We still haven't put them in. We've registered for the VAMs, and we haven't even gotten a response yet. They told us it'd take 3 weeks. It's been probably 3.5 weeks. So even if we were ready to go, we still haven't got the authority to enter our people yet.
Yikes! Now, have you received yours?
No.
So
Nope.
have you heard any stories about it yourself? I've heard that the first one, you may get a sore arm. And then the second one, it may make you sick for a day or so, but or make you real groggy.
Yeah, I've heard the same on the first one, that people get a little bit of soreness or tenderness right at the injection site. But the second one, I've had people tell me that they spent the whole day in bed sleeping the next day after the vaccination. And I'm hearing more now that people are having more of the symptoms after the second one. Fevers, headaches, things like that. But that's only been the last week and a half or so I've heard more about that with the second. But I think the second dose is becoming, more common now. We've got it into quite a few people, I think, as the first responders group.
Yeah, so, I know that Melissa in my house has had her second. And for about a day and a half, she was down for the count. She was very tired, had a headache. It knocked her on her butt, so to speak. The second one did. And then it was just poof, it was gone and she was fine. So, but I've heard a lot of stories like that. But I watched it. I watched it happen. So it's
yeah, and I've been trying to follow the news as much as I can, to see what's happening globally with it, different things. To try to learn as much as you can. And I think the biggest question now is, with the different variants, how it's going to be affected by the vaccine. They're saying right now it looks like it's going to be effective, but I think that could change the more and more as we get more of these variants. And that's the question I asked last week at the state level was, if we have a variant that the vaccine doesn't work for or work against, what do we do at that point? Do we continue vaccinating everybody, or do we stop and start all over again with a new vaccine? How are they going to handle that? I don't think anybody has, an answer for that yet.
It's kind of new for everybody.
Yeah.
This whole thing.
And then last night on the news, I heard that they're trying to focus on just getting a first round vaccination for everybody, and then worry about the second later, because they figure it'll make people a little bit resistant. And with the new variants and their high contagious or transmission capabilities, it could be better just to get the first shot in a lot of people. So
now the new variant strains that are out there, supposedly the vaccine that is being given, whether at the Pfizer or the Moderna, supposedly that covers that, or have you heard same or different?
No, that's what they're saying. But I think as it keeps mutating and you get these new strains, at some point we could look at a new one that it doesn't cover. That's my fear.
So let's move on. I just want to say that we are live on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube as well. We have a chat room going. Unfortunately, which is strange, nobody has said anything except for Laura has said good morning. But if maybe anybody has any questions, for maybe we can take a couple of questions for the Griswold First Selectman Todd Babbitt. Type it into our chat room. And if you guys can get it in there quick, then I can ask it of the first selectman and we can go from there. So one of the things that's also been in the news is that it seems like the positivity rate is going down a little bit, or the daily positivity rate. I got to be careful when I say that.
Yep.
And that it's expected that Governor Lamont may go ahead and open some things up. I mean, have you heard anything about that on the town level, or what do you expect out of that, if anything?
I haven't heard anything yet. I don't know. I assume he's going to try to open things up like some of the states around us have. That's my suspicion, but I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
We did have some issues with a couple of businesses in town that we had to address. We got some complaints through the 211 complaint line about no mask and things like that. So we did deal with those, but it's been very minimal. When we get those complaints, they come officially through us or the Yonkers Health District, so we have to follow up on all that. And it's been pretty good overall. It's just like I say, a couple here and there.
Have any fines been handed out that you know of in the town?
I have not. I don't believe Yonkers Health has either at this point.
It's not really something they want to do either. I mean, you got a hurting business, in the first place. They certainly don't want to slap on another fine on you if they don't have to, I would think.
Now, my approach has been to go talk with them. It's been that way right along. If there's some grumbling that there's something happening where people aren't wearing masks, whether it be a restaurant server or a hair salon, I go there and I have a conversation. That's the first route that we've decided to take with the health district. And we'll do that on up to 2 occasions. And then after that, it would be a fine. The problem with the fine is, we had to take a 4-hour class with the state on how to write the infractions and what information we had to gather. And at the end of the day, you write the infraction. The state, when you go to the court system, you have to go. It's you against whoever you wrote the infraction with. The state is not offering you any assistance as far as, representation. So you spend probably a half a day at the court, and the state gets all the penalties. The town gets nothing. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense, and all you're going to be doing is negatively impacting your businesses by straining them more by fining them.
So it really doesn't do any good.
No. So, if we can go out and do a one-on-one conversation and, hopefully rectify the problems, that's the approach we'd rather take. And that's what we've done. Got it.
All right, let's switch gears again on you. How about let's talk a little economic development for what there is of it right now. It's been pretty slow over the last year, has it not?
Well, COVID does a lot of things, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
So we still have Flag RV is still planning to move ahead with a project here in town. They've cleared the lot over by Petromax, and they still have plans to build a facility of some type and do some sales here. Originally they pulled out because of COVID. They had laid off a bunch of people, like 30 employees. And then they came back and said that sales were through the roof. They had to hire additional employees and they were going to move forward. So we've seen them clear the site and, they're moving forward. So I think it's going to be a slow process with COVID, but they're going to move. We've had a couple other things looking around town. The larger projects that we talked about last year, probably, I've spent probably 3 or 4 of the past 5 weekends with their real estate people going around to some other properties, so they're still making some headway. By Wednesday of this week, they hope to have some of those properties secured. That was their deadline, so I think we're making some progress. And they're telling me that in April is when the state is supposed to bring the legislation up in front of the House and the Senate.
No, that's the big one, right?
That's the big one.
Takes time.
It does, and unfortunately, they had their own host of problems. They related to the COVID. They had one of their financial backers was diagnosed with cancer, and 2 weeks later contracted COVID and passed away. So they had to step back and restructure, find another investment partner, which they did, and that took a little bit to get all that orchestrated.
Can we finally mention who they are?
No, not yet.
Oh, come on. I've been asking you for a year.
I know. We're close, though. We're closer than we were.
It's been 11 months. I've been saying every time I'll see out, and I'm sure you're sick of it. And I'll go, hey, Todd, who's coming in? Who's coming in? Who's coming in? I can't tell you, Mike. And I got to say, you're true to your word, man. You ain't said nothing.
No, I haven't. I have to sign an agreement. So
yeah,
non-disclosure agreement, and sticking to it.
All right, let me ask you this, and you can say no comment, which is pretty much what I'm going to expect. But Plainfield's getting Amazon. What's coming to Griswold? Bigger or smaller or equal?
Well, it depends how you're referring to bigger.
More tax dollars for the town and employment.
I would think we would be bigger.
Holy crap!
They're 4 larger properties that they've bought at full build out. They're estimating 20 to 25 million in tax revenue, and probably in town, probably about 1,000 employees.
Wow. That's huge. That's huge.
That's what they've estimated by what they see on the property and what they can do. So
that's a game changer, Todd. That's definitely a game changer.
It is. We just got to get there. We've been pretty close, and then we had to back up a little bit, and we're the closest we've been right now.
It's from what I understand, it's just a language change in what they want to see in the text. Is that correct? Or
yes.
Okay.
It's the legislation right now requires that anytime you upgrade or change equipment, things like that, you have to be reevaluated. And their equipment, because of technology, would change very frequently. So they would prefer to just do what they call a host agreement with the town, which is a flat fee per year. And not have to go through those reevaluations. But what's on the books at the state level doesn't allow them to do that right now.
Got it. Question for you. Let's move on from next. I think that's about, that's as much blood as I'm going to get out of you on that one. Yep. What's going on with the new senior center? I mean, it might be, that might be a better question to ask the senior center director, but while I got you on the line, maybe you can give us an update and as far as when it might be opening and so forth.
Well, I can tell you where they're at. I was up there, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. They had a meeting that I attended. It's closed in. It's sheetrocked inside. The lighting is in. So it's pretty well weather tight. I believe they were getting ready to put the permanent heat on. They're using temporary heat now. As far as where they are, I mean, I think they're probably 80% complete right now. I know they had a building meeting up there, and I know that the construction manager had gave a forecast, I guess, forward, and I believe there's going to be some kind of a shortfall. I'm not sure what that number is, but you know, we were lucky in the aspect that we started when we did because material kind of jumped up. The basic cost of the framing and things like that were locked in early.
Mm-hmm.
So the description he gave the construction manager was, you know, a 2x4 might have cost $1.50, and now it's like $3.80. A sheet of plywood that was $22 is $42. So, you know, there's a lot of increase in cost. So a lot of that stuff was locked in early, which avoided some of that. They had their host of problems with COVID. They lost their plumber due to COVID. They had to get another plumber. The masonry took a lot longer because the masons kept having problems with COVID outbreaks within their group. So there was a lot of delays. I think they were about 12 weeks behind, was the statement. But that's about what I know. You know, Tina or the building committee chair, Rob Perrette, could probably, you know, give you more information.
Now, as far as the old senior center is concerned, that is going to be repurposed, from what I understand.
It's being looked at by a space needs committee to move the alternative school there. And the space needs committee had put out a bid for architectural services to do a, I guess I'm going to say a preliminary review of the building to see what it would need, what would need to change to make it an alternative school, and how they could divide it into classrooms, what they would need to do. So that money got approved by the Board of Finance. The Space Needs Committee picked their firm, and I signed the contract last week. The Board of Selectmen approved me to sign the contract based on the request of the Space Needs Committee.
Now they approve what $10,400 for the feasibility study?
Yes. Yep.
Now, does that money just come out of the general fund, or where does that come from?
I believe that's going to come out of surplus. That's what I would think. I wasn't at the Board of Finance meeting, but I would think it would come out of surplus.
Okay. So, I mean, it kind of like, you know, what I said at the beginning, you know, you don't know things are moving, but things are continuously happening. They're continuing to move forward, whether it's economic development or whether it's the senior center and things, those types of projects. So things are constantly happening, maybe a little bit quiet, and, you know, and under wraps just because of COVID and stuff, but things are moving along maybe a little slower than normal, but they're moving along just the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You know, we also have the two housing projects, the one in Pleasant View and the one over where the old convalescent home was. They're moving forward. I was reached out to by a realtor out of New York last week who's marketing the Pleasant View property, those rental units. I wanted to know about our town, the school system, and who we could get a hold of to talk about, you know, the educational system and some other things he was looking at for specifics about Griswold. So I think that's good. You know, they're going to move forward and continue to build out their next phase, but they're also going to start marketing for that next phase.
Scott Davis just jumped into the group, and he commented on where the money came from for the feasibility study, and it said the money came from the Capital Undesignated Fund.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but I'll just going to go put that there. I have no idea what funds are what here in the town. There's a general fund. There's this fund. Can you have the Mike Fund? I would like that.
They might have. I don't know. You'd have to ask Scott.
Scott, can we have a Mike Fund? He's watching in our group. So, hey, I hear possibilities of a grocery store. Is that true? False?
We've had some conversations with someone out of the New Haven area who is connected to the developer for the Pleasant View project. and has been looking but hasn't made any commitment. He's been here a couple times, and it's a larger chain grocery store. But I think that the developer of the Pleasant View project, who's friendly with him, is trying to convince him to come here.
Well, it's one of the things that I hear from myself personally, just in conversation, whether it's in one of the diners or it's, Dean's or Charlene's, or is that when it comes to Jewett City and Griswold, there's really nothing here that, currently that people need to come here for. There's not, what I mean? They don't have, there's no destination location or anything like that. So with the addition of a grocery store and the other business we were talking about earlier that shall not be named, kind of like Voldemort from the Harry Potter series, but which could be a quote unquote game changer. That right there, that'll change. Those things will change everything, for this town. Not just for the amount of people that it would put back to work or to work, the larger business that we were talking about that you had mentioned, but everybody will benefit from that. Not only just the town from the tax revenue, but businesses, in the town, the ancillary businesses, people up and down Main Street, other things will open because more people will be coming to the area. So can you comment on that and just what a huge thing that this could be in the next 2 to 5 years?
Well, I think when you bring in these employees, there's going to be a lot of services that they require. People want to go out to lunch. They want to go out and grab lunch. So I think you're going to have a need for that type of thing. I think people are going to want to drop their vehicle off, get it serviced, oil changed, whatever, while they're working. There's just a lot of things. A grocery store, that was one of the bigger complaints, that to get groceries, you have to go out of town.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for a long time, when we talked with people like Price Chopper and different chain grocery stores, they all told us we didn't have enough rooftops to
I remember you saying that, yeah.
To retain them and get them to come in here. So I think these two housings that are currently being constructed maybe will change that. We're still, like I say, trying to have conversation with this gentleman who owns 3 grocery stores now, 2 in the New Haven area and 1 somewhere else. So we're hopeful that we can convince him to come here. I know he's looked at a few different locations. He definitely wants to be on the bus route because he thinks that's, definitely a plus. So hopefully, COVID will start to go away and maybe people will not be as skeptical as they are right now at starting a business.
Got it. All right. Brian Butchermovic has a question for you. Could you please ask Todd about painting lines for the 3 stop signs on Ashland Street when they can? And then he said, thank you.
Yeah, they'll be done in the spring. We tried to get safety marking to do them. We contracted with them, and then it just got too cold, too quick, and with the epoxy paint, they couldn't do it. So it'll be done in the spring.
Got it. Todd, anything else you want to add, or something that we got 2 minutes that we have before our next guest comes on in? But actually, I kind of kept you over anyway so far by about 10 minutes. But anything else you could? But we talked about a lot of COVID and stuff. So
yeah, I think that's about it.
All right. Well, I'm glad to have you on. It's been a while.
It has, and we should just make a monthly standing appointment is what we probably should do.
We can. If you could just email me what date of the month or what day of the week, we can do it every 4 weeks or whatever, and we just go from there.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay.
All right, Todd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye. It's Todd Babbitt, the first selectman here in the town of Griswold. Always nice to talk to Todd and get up to date with things that are happening. We found out, of course, that the senior center is it's a couple months away. Maybe he said they're at about 80%, the new one, and they're going to repurpose the older center or what will be known as the former center, and maybe make it into the alternative school, because the alternative school right now that's way out in Griswold, well, it needs a lot of upgrades and probably would cost them a lot less money just to go ahead and repurpose the senior center on Sewell Street more so than put the money into the old school out in the town. So, anywho, that was Todd Babbitt. In a couple of minutes, we have Josh Cingranelli from NBC Connecticut, Channel 30. We're going to talk about the weather. And right now, it doesn't look like it's doing a whole bunch of much of anything, but that's okay. We're going to break for the news real quick. We'll be back in a minute right here on SNSN Internet Radio. Here's a look at your local news headlines on SNSN Internet Radio. Griswold Public Schools has canceled in-school learning due to the impending snowstorm today, but school will still be in session with distance learning online. This also means that tryouts and the first practice for basketball teams and the Griswold High School fencing team will not take place today either. We will talk about the forecast and the winds gusting up to 45 miles per hour after this news report. Speaking of the snowstorm that is coming, the borough of Jewett City has listed a parking ban that went into effect this morning at 6 a.m. and will last all the way until Wednesday morning, also at 6 a.m. So for the next 48 hours or so, there will be a parking ban in the borough of Jewett City lasting until Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. First Selectman Todd Babbitt noted at the last Board of Selectmen meeting that there was an increase of 6 COVID-19 cases from the previous 2-week period. He also stated that while working with Uncas Health, that we should see local towns start to level off a little bit. He also stated that the town is working with the senior center and Uncas Health to get the vaccine out to the 75 and older community. There was even discussion regarding getting transportation to Norwich for some seniors here in Griswold who can't get there on their own to get the vaccine. Senior Center Director Tina Falk also noted at the last Board of Selectmen meeting that the phones have been ringing off the hook with seniors reaching out to get the vaccine. Falk also stated that all seniors in senior housing have been contacted. The new senior center will be open shortly, which raises the question, what is to happen to the previous senior center? Looks like the plan is to move the Griswold Alternative School over there. And at this point, 2 architectural proposals have been received, and both companies have been able to tour the old senior center. At the last Griswold Board of Finance meeting, the board approved up to $10,400 for the purpose of a feasibility study for converting the senior center to the new Griswold Alternative School. As state executive orders have now been extended through April 20th of 2021, Eversource has also updated their COVID-19 payment plans. Originally, you needed to call Eversource to report a hardship by February 2nd to qualify for the hardship payment plan, which is your past due balance broken up into 24 payments with no interest or no fees. Eversource says that now you have until April 20th, which is more in line with the state executive orders, to notify them of your hardship. All you would have to do is to call Eversource and notify them on their customer service line. And good morning. Welcome back to the show. This is the part of the show where we normally give the weather forecast, but I'm not a meteorologist, and I don't even plan to play one on TV. However, on the line with us right now from NBC Connecticut, it's Josh Cingranelli. Josh, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. So good to be with you this morning on this snowy morning, and it's only going to ramp up from here.
Did you I don't know if you can hear it all, but the studio audience right now just gave you a big round of applause. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
We paid about 30 people to come in to go ahead and give you a round of applause. And as soon as we say the word Josh, boom, there they go.
Well, I was watching your Facebook Live, so I'm guessing that is the computer audience.
No, they're in the other room, man. What are you talking about? You've been here before. You know how big this place is. You got them hidden in the basement or something. How you doing?
Doing good. Getting ready for a long day ahead. Going to be heading down to Old Saybrook here in a few minutes. We're expecting that to be one of the areas that will probably see the strongest winds. But even up here in New London County, I think that one of the big concerns is the strong winds that we'll see later this afternoon.
So the funny thing is that last night around 12 or so, looked outside, and there was a little bit of snow coming, almost like a little snow squall, and it was like, whatever. I'm thinking it's starting already, and then I got up and I was like, oh man, it's over already. That's what I thought, but not even close. Am I?
No, and in fact, the storm is still really forming right now into a nor'easter. So we haven't even seen the storm form into a nor'easter. So what you're seeing right now, that's just the front edge of the snow that they were seeing in Pennsylvania. So what we're going to see happen now and over the next couple of hours, we're seeing that nor'easter really form right now off the Jersey coast. And we're already seeing some really strong and heavy snow bands moving over Long Island. So I expect those to move over southern Connecticut probably in the next couple of hours. But the worst of it is still probably 4 to 5 hours away. We're talking very heavy snow by the afternoon into the evening. Snowfall rates maybe 2, even 3 inches per hour. And, maybe around 4 to 5 p.m., we might see something called some thunder snow. I know a lot of people are big fans of that, especially me. And, it's always interesting when you hear that big boom in the middle of the winter and you're like, was that thunder?
Yeah, what causes
and,
what
that
causes that?
What really causes that is the rapid intensification of the storm. So as the storm's really intensifying, you have a lot of instability. And as that instability gets going, it has to be released somewhere. And, that's typically why we see the thunder snow. So it's actually become, it's pretty common here in New England, and it's something we probably see once every 2 years. But it's an interesting phenomenon. And then when you do see the thunder snow, usually you're in the heaviest band. So usually it's whiteout conditions. Then you have sometimes a big flash, but obviously you'll hear the thunder snow for even further and further because you're in the winter months. And the sound can travel a lot farther.
So now you're going down to why is it you're going to Old Saybrook, that area? Why is it going to be more prevalent down there? What's the difference between there and say Griswold, matter of fact, or Lisbon?
Yeah, so I think all of New London County probably sees the strongest wind gusts in the entire state, but they'll be just a little bit stronger down on the shoreline because there's no exposure. So you're right along the water. I do think there is a good possibility later this afternoon that possibly all of New London County, but at least southern New London County, could see a blizzard warning, which is something we haven't seen here in Connecticut in at least 3 years. That's the last time that we actually saw a blizzard warning. So no, we're heading down to the shoreline because, we expect the absolute worst conditions to be down there. And then by maybe 5 or 6 p.m., the wind's going to be whipping and we're going to transition over to sleet. So you take little ice pellets, and then you throw them at somebody's face at 50 miles per hour, and it hurts. So that's what we'll be dealing with later this afternoon and into the evening. And I think even up this way, up in the Lisbon, Griswold, Voluntown area, we probably switch over to that sleet later this evening, and then possibly even a little bit of rain toward the end.
Sleet hitting my face at 50 miles an hour. Don't threaten me with a good time. Jeez. So
I have the goggles ready if we need them. So I always pack the snow goggles, especially when it's windy out. And that's that. And Mike, I also should mention, there is the possibility, unfortunately, of some power outages. I don't think it's a huge deal, but if somebody's going to get power outages, it's probably on this side of the state, southeastern Connecticut. The snow is going to turn. It's really fine right now, the flakes, but once we get into the afternoon hours, the flakes they'll get really big, and it's literally going to be what we like to call puking dendrites.
what?
And that's that term should be in the meteorological dictionary because it's a pretty good term to describe what's going on. But I mean, it is literally going to be dumping snow with really big flakes, probably around 2, 3, 4 p.m. And those snowflakes, the snow is going to cake onto all the trees, the power lines. Then you add in that 40 to 50 mile per hour wind, and that's when we could see some trees, some power issues later this afternoon.
So in the last couple of days, the forecast has gone up and down, which I would think is common with a storm like this. That's just a guess, obviously, but what are we looking at? I mean, as far as the last I heard was in our area 4 to 8, but from what you're saying, it sounds like it might be even more than that.
Yeah, so we already have about 2 inches of snow on the ground, and at least in my house in Lisbon, when I measured first thing this morning, and we're going to add on to that quite a bit. So I think at least 10 inches for our area, but possibly even up to 14 when all is said and done. And you mentioned the forecast changing, and if you live in Connecticut a while, you might say the forecasts change a lot more now than they ever have, and that's absolutely the honest to God truth. Because the reason that is because the amount of information we have now is exponentially higher than what we've ever had. So we have way more information to make these forecasts more accurate. But over time, you see them change quite a bit. Usually the morning show will have a forecast. By the evening show, the forecast will change. Maybe by the 11, that forecast will change a little bit more. But I wouldn't call them big changes, more of just kind of fine tuning as we go. But we're lucky in that we don't, it's very rare now where we totally bust a forecast. Does it happen? Absolutely. But for the most part, the snow forecasts over the last 5 years have drastically improved because of technology.
I get a question from Leon. He wants to know, and I don't know if this is a question to ask you, or maybe this should be even directed towards Deep, but will ice be safe enough for ice fishing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I did see some reports, and I don't know if it was indeed safe to be doing so. I did see some reports of people out ice fishing on Patchogue yesterday, and I even saw some people out with ATVs on Patchogue, which I don't think that's probably thick enough at this point. But the best thing to do if you can is measure the ice from shore. You want at least 4 inches of ice thickness for ice fishing. You need at least 6 inches to drive an ATV, which I really don't think there's 6 inches of ice in Patchogue right now. But with that being said, if you don't have the opportunity to, measure and drill into the ice, one of the things you can do is, if you contact one of the bait shops around here, they're really good about the information and knowing, how thick the ice is from local fishermen.
So getting back to the storm, what areas of Connecticut are actually going to get hit the most? I mean, is it going to be us? Are we talking maybe northwestern Connecticut or?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. I think Western Connecticut sees some of the higher totals. We're forecasting probably close to 16 inches up that way. And then somewhere down near the New York City metro area might end up with 20 to 24 inches of snow when all is said and done. And if that occurs, it would be quite remarkable. It would be the 4th largest snowstorm for New York City in over 100 years. So, it's really a tough forecast down there. It's a tough work. It's tough to be a meteorologist in Connecticut with all the changing weather. I would not want to be a meteorologist in New York City right now because they are literally flirting with heavy snow and rain. Like literally, it's a razor thin cutoff there. So, but right now it looks like they could be in for a record breaking storm. Definitely, probably coming in as top 10 in the last 100 years.
You ever put together a forecast, Josh, and next thing you know, it didn't happen, and you sit there and go, "Crap, that was wrong." That ever happened?
I would say at least a couple times a winter here in Connecticut. I think the worst thing is these snowstorms are really good at, I think, but what we still need to improve on, and technology's hopefully coming around to it soon, is those really small events. If you remember back just a couple months ago, we had that freezing drizzle where there were accidents all up and down I-395.
It's like a sheet of ice.
I mean, it was just a sheet of ice. They shut down the highway. Remember, up in Plainfield, there were several accidents. Griswold, there were accidents. Down in Lisbon, there were accidents. It's those events where I scratch my head the next morning and I'm like, come on, like you said. And I even go back and you look at stuff and you're like, well, couldn't have done anything different because literally everything I was looking at did not show this. So it's those events that are most frustrating. It's honestly these bigger events that are generally pretty easy because 6 inches versus 10 inches is honestly the same exact impact. It's really tough driving. It's tough to move. It's schools are usually closed, or I guess we're over to remote learning for some areas. And that's about that.
We're talking to Josh Cingranelli from NBC Connecticut, giving us some little weather education, especially right now when we're about to get shellacked with a snowstorm here in eastern Connecticut. So you said possibly 10 inches of snow, maybe a little more, depending.
Yeah, so right around probably 10 inches of snow here in northern New London County. I think the big issue, it's going to be a heavy, wet snow, that concrete consistency. It's what we call heart attack snow. So be careful out there. If you are elderly, if you have any cardiac issues, you're not going to want to be moving this later tonight or tomorrow by yourself. Hire the local, the teenager down the road to shovel the driveway, or if you have a plow operator, great. It is going to be very heavy in consistency, tough to manage, and then the wind is going to be whipping all night, even into tomorrow morning. So I expect at least a round of delays tomorrow morning for schools across this area as well. But of course, I'm not the superintendent, so we'll have to wait and see on that.
Snow is sometimes an anomaly, isn't it, around here? You never know what's going to happen or how it's going to end up.
Yeah, it's it's definitely one of the tougher areas to forecast for because you have the marine layer from down near the ocean, so you're battling that. And while it's cold at the surface, it's 28 degrees right now. We have a 30, 40 knot wind at around 5,000 feet up at cloud level, shooting from the south to the north. So it's bringing all kinds of offshore warmth right into cloud level into this area. And that's why, now we're looking at sleet and a little bit of rain even. So a lot of different moving parts. Like you said, it's kind of an anomaly what we see out this way. And, but right now, still thinking 10, maybe even 12 inches of snow out here. Really strong winds, possibility of some power outages, and then a heavy snow to clean up for later tonight and tomorrow morning.
Very good. Are you on your way down to Old Saybrook now, or?
I'm sitting in the driveway, ready to go.
Yep.
I want to be able to. The roads are a little slick. There's a layer of ice down below from when it started last night, so just want to be able to concentrate on the roads when I do get on the roads to head down there. But yeah, we'll be down there. Probably going to head over to Saybrook Point with a northeast wind. That's one of the areas that won't be that we'll see the strongest winds, and then we'll be down there till midnight. So we'll be in it for a while. So
when are you going to start doing your live shots with NBC Connecticut?
Yeah,
that we can watch on TV.
Yeah, so I will probably start mine around 2 to 2:30, but I think we'll probably, jump over to the continuous coverage and break into all the programming this afternoon, the soap operas and stuff, starting at 11. I know some of the other stations have already done that, so we might do that. It really depends on how heavy the snow gets and if we see a blizzard warning.
Gotcha. Well, you take it easy, drive safe on down to Old Saybrook, and we'll be watching for you on NBC Connecticut today.
Mike, thanks so much. Stay safe for everyone and enjoy the snowstorm. Classic nor'easter.
All right, Josh. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
All right, bye. It's Josh Cingranelli from NBC Connecticut. Always, I got to tell you, I invited him to come on last night. Oh, I don't know, at about 1:30 in the morning. So, and we had a little bit of a chat. And it's like, yeah, when you're in this business, you just don't sleep. So, but you heard him. He's going to be going down to Old Saybrook now. You can catch him on NBC Connecticut a little bit later on today with different weather reports and to keep us all informed of what's happening with this snowstorm. So we're going to break for news, and we'll see you in a bit right here on SNSN Internet Radio. Here's a look at your local news headlines on SNSN Internet Radio. Griswold Public Schools has canceled in-school learning due to the impending snowstorm today, but school will still be in session with distance learning online. This also means that tryouts and the first practice for basketball teams and the Griswold High School fencing team will not take place today either. We will talk about the forecast and the winds gusting up to 45 miles per hour after this news report. Speaking of the snowstorm that is coming, the borough of Jewett City has listed a parking ban that went into effect this morning at 6 a.m. and will last all the way until Wednesday morning, also at 6 a.m. So for the next 48 hours or so, there will be a parking ban in the borough of Jewett City lasting until Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. First Selectman Todd Babbitt noted at the last Board of Selectmen meeting that there was an increase of 6 COVID-19 cases from the previous 2-week period. He also stated that while working with Uncas Health, that we should see local towns start to level off a little bit. He also stated that the town is working with the senior center and Uncas Health to get the vaccine out to the 75 and older community. There was even discussion regarding getting transportation to Norwich for some seniors here in Griswold who can't get there on their own to get the vaccine. Senior Center Director Tina Falk also noted at the last Board of Selectmen meeting that the phones have been ringing off the hook with seniors reaching out to get the vaccine. Falk also stated that all seniors in senior housing have been contacted. The new senior center will be open shortly, which raises the question, what is to happen to the previous senior center? Looks like the plan is to move the Griswold Alternative School over there. And at this point, 2 architectural proposals have been received, and both companies have been able to tour the old senior center. At the last Griswold Board of Finance meeting, the board approved up to $10,400 for the purpose of a feasibility study for converting the senior center to the new Griswold Alternative School. As state executive orders have now been extended through April 20th of 2021, Eversource has also updated their COVID-19 payment plans. Originally, you needed to call Eversource to report a hardship by February 2nd to qualify for the hardship payment plan, which is your past due balance broken up into 24 payments with no interest or no fees. Eversource says that now you have until April 20th, which is more in line with the state executive orders, to notify them of your hardship. All you would have to do is to call Eversource and notify them on their customer service line. Here's a look at your local weather forecast on SNSN Internet Radio. A winter storm warning is in effect until 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning. We can expect heavy snow and wind gusts as high as 45 miles per hour and possibly 10 to 16 inches of snow. Of course, this means travel will be difficult or impossible. The hazardous conditions could impact the morning commute and will impact the evening commute as well, as gusty winds could bring down tree branches. Tonight, we can expect more of the same, as the winds will also continue to be 40 plus mile an hour gusts. The wind chill will make it feel like it's between 15 and 20. And like I said, when it's all said and done, 10 to 16 inches in eastern Connecticut. Tuesday, rain and snow is likely, becoming all snow in the morning. Mostly cloudy, temps around 33, and a 50% chance of light snow Tuesday night. Cloudy with temperatures around 26.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It's SNSN Internet Radio 937, 23 minutes in front of 10 o'clock. And so I got to snow today. Get yourself some hot cocoa, make some toast. That's how I was brought up. You drink hot cocoa and you eat toast for any snowstorm. It's just what you do. It's what my mother made me do, and she didn't make me do anything as far as that is concerned. I love toast. I hope you like toast too. It's a lot of fun. Actually, we have a song about toast, which is pretty interesting. And let me see if I can pull it up here. It's a blast. I don't have it, but anyway, what the hell? So anyway, it is February 1st, 2021. The infection rate seems to be going down little by little. So hopefully that's a good sign. And there's also rumors that Governor Lamont is going to go ahead and lift some of the restrictions on the state, as some of the states around us have been doing as well. So, maybe I don't want to give anybody any false hopes. I mean, then again, I'm not exactly an oracle when it comes to any of this kind of stuff. Just talking about things that I had heard that, give us a little bit of a little more reason to believe. So it's coming. So anyway. Interesting enough too, being February 1st, it's my birthday this month. I will make sure that I send a mass invite for gifts because why not? If you don't ask, you don't receive. No, don't send me anything. I don't want anything. But tomorrow is my daughter's birthday. She's going to be 14 years old tomorrow. It's Groundhog Day, and it's her birthday. So, my ex, who is my daughter's mother, went into false labor. At one point, they told her, no, it's not going to happen. You're going to have 6 more weeks of pregnancy. Get it? All right. This is what happens when Paul doesn't come in here on Mondays. I just kind of go ahead and flounder. All right, February 1st. Here are some things that happened in history. Today is the anniversary of the first session of the U.S. Supreme Court in New York City back in 1790. The first session of the U.S. Supreme Court. Something that happened today, which was very, very important, back in the year 1851. It is the anniversary of, don't you want to know, it's the anniversary of the invention of evaporated milk. Yeah, evaporated milk was founded today by Gail Borden. Of course, the Borden cow. They gave away the milk. In 1893, Thomas Edison finished the construction of the first motion picture studio, the Black Maria in West Orange, New Jersey. In 1898, Travelers Insurance Company actually began issuing automobile insurance. And just so you know, today is Car Insurance Day. It's one of those holidays that you should be celebrating that you didn't know that existed in the first place. There are a bunch of others too. Let's see. It's National Decorating with Candy Day. It's Candy Making Day. It's Change Your Password Day. I'm out of passwords. I don't have any more passwords. I don't care if you need some sort of symbol, an asterisk, or a number sign. I don't have any more passwords in me to give. I have no passwords to give. It's National Get Up Day. That's right. Don't stay in bed. But then again, go outside, shovel some snow, but be careful, especially if you have some sort of cardiac issue, as Josh was saying from Connecticut 30 a few minutes ago. It's Robinson Crusoe Day. That is February 1st. And also it's Serpent Day. Maybe that's why Paul Lash didn't come in today. So anyway, 9:41, that's going to wrap things up for us here on SN Internet Radio. Thanks for joining us. We'll have Psychic Tuesday once again tomorrow. And on Thursday, Joe the Time Traveler, he will be back once again as we'll do Time Traveling Thursday. And we may have another guest with him as well. So we hope you join us tomorrow for Psychic Tuesday. Another guests and tomfoolery right here on SN Internet Radio. Hope you have a great day. Stay safe, everybody, from the storm. And stay warm and eat some toast.
They mix it up a lot, and I can listen to them for longer periods of time.